Samuel Lester wasn't just another waiter at the Grove, he was the kind of person who could light up a room with his presence. A natural at customer service, he had a rare gift for making every person who walked through the door feel important. Whether it was a high-powered executive in a tailored suit or a construction worker in dusty overalls, Samuel treated everyone with the same respect and care. It wasn't just his warm smile or calm demeanor that made him stand out. It was his genuine belief that every individual deserved to be valued. Regular patrons noticed it, and many kept coming back not just for the food but for the way Samuel made them feel at home. That particular Tuesday afternoon was unusually calm. The soft strains of jazz drifted through the air, blending seamlessly with the subtle clinking of glasses and the muffled chatter of the staff as they prepared for the evening rush. The restaurant's polished interior gleamed under the soft glow of hanging lights, creating an atmosphere of understated elegance. Samuel moved with practiced ease, straightening napkins and ensuring every table setting was immaculate. The stillness was broken by the faint chime of the front door. Samuel instinctively looked up to see a young teenage boy step inside, flanked by two men in sharp, perfectly tailored suits. The contrast between the boy's reserved demeanor and the imposing presence of his escorts was striking. Even before Samuel could process the situation fully, he knew this wasn't an ordinary guest. The boy's face was vaguely familiar, and when Samuel realized who he was, he quickly pushed aside any instinct to treat him differently. It didn't matter that he was Barron Trump, son of one of the most powerful men in the country. To Samuel, he was just another customer in need of a meal and a warm welcome. Stepping forward, Samuel offered the same friendly smile he gave to everyone. "Welcome to the Grove," he said, his tone light but professional. "Table for one?" Barron nodded subtly, his expression neutral, and chose a booth by the window. Samuel led the way, pulling out the menu and placing it on the table with a practiced gesture. "Take your time," he added, his voice as warm as ever. Barron scanned the menu briefly, then placed a simple order, a cheeseburger and a soda. Samuel made no comment on the straightforward choice. It wasn't his place to judge. Instead, he gave a polite nod and replied, "Coming right up," before heading toward the kitchen. As Samuel passed the staff station, he was intercepted by his manager, Mr. Walter, whose presence was as commanding as ever. Walter's brow was furrowed, and his voice carried a sharp edge as he asked, "Do you realize who that is?" Samuel glanced back toward the booth but remained composed. "No, sir." "Should I?" he replied, though he already knew the answer. Walter leaned closer, his tone dropping to a whisper. "That's Barron Trump." "His father?" "I know who his father is," Samuel interrupted calmly, meeting Walter's gaze. Walter's eyes narrowed. "Then you understand this is delicate," he snapped. "Stick to the basics, no small talk, no unnecessary interactions. And for heaven's sake, don't do anything that could embarrass us." Samuel nodded, concealing his irritation at the lecture. He prided himself on his professionalism and didn't need reminding of how to do his job. Returning to the kitchen, he ensured Barron's order was prepared to perfection. When he brought the plate to the table, Barron offered a quiet "thank you," his voice soft but sincere. Samuel acknowledged the gratitude with a slight smile and left the boy to enjoy his meal in peace, though he discreetly kept an eye on the booth. As the boy prepared to leave, Samuel noticed something out of place. Barron's wallet, an expensive-looking leather piece, lay forgotten on the seat. Without hesitation, Samuel called out, "Excuse me, you forgot this." His voice carried across the room, drawing Barron's attention. The boy turned, a flicker of surprise crossing his otherwise composed face. Samuel stepped forward and handed him the wallet. "Thank you," Barron said quietly, his tone carrying more weight than the simple words. Samuel responded with a nod and a kind smile before returning to his duties, unaware that Walter's sharp eyes had been observing the entire interaction. Later that evening, after the dinner rush had ended and the restaurant had quieted down, Samuel was summoned to Walter's office. The air inside was cold, and Walter's expression was as stern as ever. "You're fired," Walter declared bluntly, his voice devoid of empathy. Samuel's face fell in disbelief. "What? Why?" he asked, struggling to process the sudden turn of events. Walter's response was curt and final. "You broke protocol. You could have jeopardized our reputation." Samuel stood in stunned silence, the weight of the accusation sinking in. Without another word, he turned and left, his heart heavy with the injustice of the situation. As he stepped out into the cool evening air, the glow of the Grove's sign seemed distant and cold, a stark contrast to the warmth he had poured into his work there. Samuel sat in his small apartment, staring at his phone in disbelief as the conversation with Donald Trump replayed in his mind. Could this really be happening? The offer felt surreal, like something out of a movie rather than his life. The Trump International Hotel was a place he'd only ever seen in passing or on TV. A symbol of luxury and opulence that felt a world away from his modest existence. Now, he was about to walk through its doors as a candidate for a position he never dreamed he'd have a chance at. The next morning, Samuel carefully dressed in his best suit, double-checking his tie in the mirror. It wasn't the most expensive outfit, but it was clean, pressed, and a testament to his quiet professionalism. As he approached the towering skyscraper, the sight of the Trump International Hotel took his breath away. The sleek, mirrored facade reflected the bustling streets below, and the revolving doors seemed to invite him into a world he had only glimpsed from afar. Taking a deep breath, he stepped inside. The lobby was grander than anything he'd ever imagined. Gleaming marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and a symphony of quiet sophistication that made him feel both in awe and slightly out of place. A receptionist greeted him with a polished smile. "Mr. Lester, welcome. Mr. Trump has arranged for you to meet with our executive team," she said, her tone warm but professional. She guided him down a long corridor that opened into a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows, offering a stunning view of the city skyline. Samuel couldn't help but feel a twinge of nervousness as he stepped inside, facing a group of impeccably dressed executives seated around a sleek glass table. The meeting was both thorough and surprisingly welcoming. The team asked him about his background, his experiences at the Grove, and how he approached challenges in his work. Samuel spoke honestly, his passion for treating people with respect shining through in every answer. Despite his nerves, he felt a connection with the room. These weren't just people assessing his qualifications. They seemed genuinely interested in what he brought to the table. By the end of the discussion, the head of the team smiled and extended a hand. "Samuel, we'd like to offer you a position in guest relations management. Your dedication and values are exactly what we look for in our team." Samuel was momentarily speechless. The role came with responsibilities he had never dared to imagine, as well as a salary that was almost double what he had earned at the Grove. "Thank you," he finally managed, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions. Over the next few weeks, Samuel threw himself into his new role with everything he had. The hotel staff quickly came to respect his leadership and calm demeanor, while the guests appreciated his genuine dedication to ensuring their comfort. For the first time in years, Samuel felt truly valued, not just for his work but for the person he was. The luxurious surroundings, the supportive team, and the opportunities for growth all seemed to validate the hardships he had endured. Slowly, the memory of that fateful evening at the Grove began to feel less like an injustice and more like the turning point that had brought him to this new chapter of his life. Months passed, and Samuel's life transformed in ways he never thought possible. But one evening, he received an unexpected invitation, one he couldn't refuse. It was a dinner with the Trump family. Nervous but grateful, Samuel arrived at the private dining room, where the atmosphere was surprisingly relaxed. The table was set for an intimate gathering, and Samuel was greeted warmly by Barron, who was no longer the reserved boy he had first met. "Thank you," Barron said with a sincerity that caught Samuel off guard. "You didn't have to help me that day, but you did. My dad says people like you are rare." Samuel smiled, his words failing him for a moment. Before he could respond, Donald Trump raised his glass. "To Samuel Lester," Trump declared, his voice carrying across the room. "A man who reminds us all that kindness is never wasted." The applause around the table was loud, but Samuel's smile remained quiet and sincere. As he sat there, surrounded by gratitude and respect, he realized that the simple act of helping someone had not only changed his own life but had also made an impression on people he'd never imagined crossing paths with. In that moment, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that doing the right thing was always worth it. And so, Samuel's story came full circle, a reminder that sometimes, life's biggest opportunities come from the smallest acts of kindness. Thank you for watching till the end. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, don't hesitate to like the video and share it with your friends too. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for more fascinating stories. See you in the next video.